Hi everybody, it's Heidi again here, back with another little project. Recently some of my fellow demonstrators and I took part in a ribbon share, which is where we all get together and each of us buys some ribbon and then cuts it into enough lengths to share out with everybody else. So you end up with the complete selection of ribbon without having to buy the whole lot. It's a really good way to start off your collection and also to see whether there's actually a particular ribbon that you like. We don't all like all the ribbon all the time. So actually this is all of the new ribbon from the catalogue. And you can see here I've put them on some little cards which are made with the tag topper. And because this is only sort of a small amount of the ribbon, they fit on really nicely. So you see here we've got all the lovely striped cottons in all the lovely colours, as you can see here. So that's all the striped cotton ribbon. We then have the lovely new in colours dotted lace. You'll see here. Okay. And those are nice and flat. And those, because it's a flat ribbon, I've kept the sides flat. But on some of the other ribbons, which are quite narrow, like the sequin trim here in Blushing Bride in silver, you'll see I've cut a notch out, which just helps it sit flat and not slip off. And then we've got the lovely thick baker's twine in all of those super colours. And then we've got the, finally, natural chevron ribbon. So these are all the new ones, and obviously you may well have ribbons already, and it's a great way of storing those last little bits of ribbons. And by putting it on the tag top, you can see that quite easily you can write on the number of it from the Stampin' Up catalogue for when you want to buy some more, and what it is, and you can easily flick through and see what you've got. You'll see again I've used the lovely Pretty Petals DSP paper stack. This is really a favourite of mine, as I've used it several times. And this is a really nice stamp set that I've used here as well, which is called Summer Silhouettes. And you'll see it's these bits here, but it's a really useful one for backgrounds and everything else. And this is the Watermelon Wonder card. I've actually used some retired cardstock here, which is the Naturals Ivory, but it works really well with Very Vanilla, obviously. So that's what we're going to do today. It's a sturdy little box, and the little foot at the front just stops it tipping over and means it stands on your desk very nicely. So, easy. One piece of A4 cardstock, and trim that down to 8 1/4 by 10 inches. So on the long side you're going to score at 2.5, 3 inches, 6 inches and 6.5 inches. Turn through 90 degrees, and on the short side just score at 2 inches and 6 1/4 inches. Okay, scoring done. Put that to one side, and I'm just going to reinforce the folds here. This is actually based on a design that Sam Hammond Donald did for business cards, but I've made this larger, and I've made several to hold all sorts of things from dies to say ribbons and all sorts of things. So once you've scored it, then you're going to cut up some of the score lines. So you're cutting up the inner one on either side and taking out that panel, and the same on the opposite side. So just cutting up. All the way across. Okay. I haven't cut that one very well. I'll just go back and make that a bit neater. Okay, and then you're going to extend the cut on either end, and that's so you've got a little flap to glue down that will reinforce, make it a bit more stable. So having done that, I'm just going to come in with my paper snips, and because those are going to tuck in, I'm just going to notch out very slightly. fact, I've done 2 there, but I think I only need 1 if I remember. Okay, so simple as that. All you're going to use now is some red tape. So what you're going to do is, if I just show you how it's going to work, this is going to fold up like so, and those will tuck in. Okay, and then the other ones will do exactly the same, and they'll tuck around the outside and tuck that underneath. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is put some tape close to this score line here, and the same on the other side. Okay, so that's for the bottom part. You're then going to stick some tape on the flap on the shorter piece. You can't quite see that. Flap on the shorter piece, and the same on the other side as well. Again, flap, shorter piece. So that's going to fold and stick there, and then you're going to put it on the inside of the flap on the opposite, on the longer edge. Now, if you want, you could actually trim those off, and you can just have it flush, in which case you'd put the glue on the inside here. Now, this taller flap is the one that's actually going to fold round the outside. So while it's unmade, we're going to put a piece of tape down the outer edge of either side and down the inner. Yeah, but don't come all the way to the top. In fact, on those, because, which I've done on that one, you only need to come up high enough to stick this flap to it. Okay, so we've done all the taping. Now we're going to play that fun and games of getting the red tape off whilst on a video, which I've had problems with before, but I will do my best. Pokey tool to hand, piercing tool. Okay, so the first thing is to fold those flaps in. It's a good idea to just use your bone folder to fold it down. Okay, you see the box starting to take shape. So the next thing is I'm going to do the short flaps. Okay, and those are going to just line up that inner edge, and the same on this side. Then we're taking off the outer tape. So you're going to bring that flap over and under, just to neaten it off. Okay, and this is where you'll see I put too much tape on the back here, so I'm actually going to just try and peel. I'm not going to be able to peel that off. If you ever do that and you find you've got a piece of tape exposed, just put a bit of talcum powder on it, just to take the stickiness off, and then you're not going to get constantly getting stuff stuck to it. Okay. So all of those off, and then again fold over side and line it up, flap underneath, and there you have it. So you'll see now the sides here don't look particularly attractive. So easy though. You get your big scissors and just cut across diagonally, and exactly the same on the other side, cut across. So there is your basic box, and you can see it's quite nice and stable, and because we've tucked those flaps inside and out, you've actually got quite a nice strong rigid box as well. So to decorate it, which I should have done before I put it together, you need some designer series paper. Now the designer series paper I've got here from Pretty Petals, I've cut 4 pieces, 2 for the side, 1 for the middle, 1 for the bottom, and the panel for the front, this one is 4 inches by 2¼ inches. This one is 4 inches by 1/4 inch, so what I did was I cut the larger panel and then trimmed off just 1/4 inch. And these are 3 1/8 tall by 1 3/4 wide. And what I've done is I've marked a point which you may or may not be able to see, just on the edge here at 2 1/4 inches, because I'm going to again just use my scissors to cut the corner off. So line it up, and that's to fit on the sides. So, having made the fatal mistake of making my boxes up without putting the paper on, very quickly, just using a bit of fuse here, and popping those panels on. Okay, on the front there. And just again lining it up so you've got a nice border all the way around. Then this last bit, again, because I've got some paper, you'll see the grid paper here, which is great to work on. Just roll that all the way down to the edge and carefully lift up, and that just finishes off that little foot at the bottom. Okay, so having made our box up, we then are going to make the panel for the front. So I've got just a small piece here of very vanilla, and this is 1 1/2 inches by 2 inches, and I'm going to use that lovely Summer Silhouettes for my stamping with the Mint Macaron. So that's one of the lovely in colours. So I'm actually going to stamp off for the stem. Okay. And then for the flowers, over the top there with full strength. Okay, so there's our panel. I'm going to use just a bit of sponge and ink around the edges. And you can ink around the edges as much or as little as you like, really. You can always go back over it a little bit more if you want a little bit more of an effect. It just finishes it off. And then I've got a piece of Mint Macaron card here, which is just very slightly bigger, 1 5/8 by 2 1/8 inches. And all I'm going to do you'll see I was just testing the side out with some ink on the other side, and put that on. And you see that just brings that out slightly. So all you need to do then is again some more fuse on the outside edge, and that then pops a panel onto the front edge there. Okay, so there's your box made up, and all that's left to do is to make the tags to go into it, and these are so easy because they're just strips of 2 inch by 3 1/2 inch card, and I'm using the tag topper punch. Very easy, and you can use any card. I've just used some scrap card that I happen to have here. Punch it out at the top, write on what you want, and as I said, to do the curves at either side, I've used the large oval punch. So just lining it up, and I've lined up the bottom edge until you can just see a sliver. Punch, and because it's the same on either side, line it up on the edge. And there you go, you've got your nice scallops on either side there, and then you can just wind your ribbon around and it goes straight in your box. So as I said, a really useful way to store your ribbons. I've certainly used it. I hope you find it useful. And if anybody's interested in doing a ribbon share, let me know and I'll get one organised. Thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.